This is your one and only 𝐈𝐸𝐻81 with your daily dose of video goodness, and today we are taking a look at my full review for Lost Ark. But before we jump into the video, I just got a quick word from today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. Today's sponsor would like me to tell you about Raid Shadow Legends. So sit back, buckle up, and let's pay some bills. Now, I'm sure many of you have already heard about Raid Shadow Legends, but for those who have not, I'm going to tell you about it. Raid Shadow Legends is a turn-based battle MMORPG. What does that mean? Well, that means you got champions, they fight other champions, whether it's other players or AI. Those champions level up, rinse, and repeat, with a ton of other goodies sprinkled in. In most situations, orcs get a bad rap, but not in Raid. In Raid, they are actually a displaced faction of nomads, and you can play their campaign to find out the full story. And they also want me to tell you that they got a bunch of special events coming up, awesome new champions, and a big update called the Guardian Ring, which gives you tons of new ways to play your champions, including but not limited to the Faction Guardian system, which is a new way for you to get legendary champions that you may have missed out on in the past. And if you want an even bigger head start, all you have to do is click the link down in the description or scan the QR code on the screen right now. New players will get an epic hero, whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but it's on the screen, 200,000 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 ancient shard. So you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in the game. You'll find the rewards in your inbox for the next 30 days only. Big thanks to Raid Shadow Legends for paying for this portion of the video. So for those of you who do not know what Lost Ark is a free-to-play MMORPG that has a lot of ARPG elements. So think on the terms of Diablo or Path of Exile style games if you turned one of them into an actual MMO. Now, many of you already know that I'm not the biggest fan of MMOs. I can't stand the whole walk across the street, talk to this dude, come back across the street, talk to me, walk over here, take this thing to this person, and they're just so structured and full of little menial tasks that it kind of drives me nuts anymore. I'm much more of a sandbox style player these days because they just give you the world, you turn you loose, you do what you want to do and have a good time. But I do really enjoy ARPGs as well because sometimes you just want to log into a game and run around murdering hordes and hordes of whatever. So seeing that this was a hybrid of the two, I decided to give it a chance just to see how it plays out. And surprisingly enough, for the most part, I really enjoyed the game overall. Now, there are some negative things I have to say about it. There's a bunch of positive things I have to say about it, and that's the point of this review. We're going to talk about them all. Now, we're going to start off with talking about all the positive stuff and then the negative stuff. But before we do that, I do want to mention that this review is based on my experiences inside the closed beta, which, like an early access game, is not a completely accurate representation of what the finished product is going to be like. So let's talk about some positives. First off, there is a ton, just an absolute ton of quality of life stuff in this game. It has everything from awesome inventory management to allowing you to respec loadouts, all kinds of different types of loadouts, being able to save character creations, teleporting all over the place, teleporting home from no matter where you are, just so much stuff that is just nice to have. Quality of life things that you wish a lot of other games had. And even if you're not a fan of a lot of the things that the game has to offer, all of these quality of life features make the game rather enjoyable to play. Next, let's talk art and sound. This game is not only eye candy, it is ear candy as well. The sounds are so on point, like everything from the guns, firing the guns from the gunslinger, they just have that nice, crisp, crack gun sound that sounds like it's from an action movie and you're in surround sound in the theater and you got the guns blazing around you. Sounds absolutely phenomenal. They nailed their layering of the sounds in this game, and the art is just spectacular. The game is just constantly beautiful to look at. Speaking of beautiful to look at, the character creation is on point as well. It is very in-depth. It's not as in-depth as some others that I've seen. Like, you can't really decide on what your character's body looks like, but you can really customize the face of your character and create a very unique character. They allow you to do everything from making different shades in the hair and changing how those shades blend together. So you could have purple roots with pink tips, or black roots with red tips, or vice versa. And then they have sliders to allow you to adjust how far that shading goes. You can design both eyes separately from each other. You can put tattoos on the face and move some of them around, change the color on them. You can sculpt the face, the jaw, the cheeks, all of that stuff. Now, there are a few things missing from character creation that I wish they had. For example, the mouth. The mouth, you can just move it up and down. Whichever face you decide to choose to start with, that's the mouth you're stuck with. You can't like make the lips different. And I kind of wish that was a thing. But for an isometric game, to have the character creation that it does and allow you to really create a character that feels different from other characters is just absolutely phenomenal. And then, of course, if you're going to have solid character creation, you should also have a photo mode. And this game does. Not enough games these days have photo mode. I feel like that's something, with social media being the way it is and how connected we are with the internet, being able to show off your character and have a proper photo mode to do that is just a really solid feature for any multiplayer game that allows for character customization to have. So let's talk about gameplay. Gameplay is really good as far as like the combat goes and the boss fights. I really have enjoyed every boss that I fought in this game. They all felt similar but different at the same time. Similar in the fact that red things or red markers show up on the ground to show you where the boss is about to attack. But the bosses have different mechanics, even though they all have those things to kind of show you where they're going to attack so that you can dodge them. But the different mechanics that each of the bosses have really set them apart from each other. For example, one boss that I fought spawned 2 additional weapons that just fought alongside of him, which was very challenging but extremely fun. Other ones do crazy things like create giant vortexes that kind of just mess you up or suck you in or paralyze you for a given period of time. Some bosses just run across the arena and just smash you into the ground. And I really found all of them to be extremely fun and enjoyable, because it gets to a point where you're fighting the normal little stuff, the just filler stuff, and you're just going through and you're murdering them all by the thousands, and it gets to the point where it's kind of boring. But then you run into these boss battles pretty frequently, and even mini boss battles that really break things up and create extremely enjoyable gameplay combat-wise. And for me, combat is where the most enjoyment of Lost Ark is. Now, that's just for me specifically. I know lots of people have different ways they like to play. They may like to go collect lots of things. There are plenty of things to collect, plenty of other things to do besides just fighting. You can style and create an entire island. You don't just get a house, you get a full island that you can customize to your liking. And there are tons of different little things that are hidden throughout the different maps to collect. But for me, the combat is where the game shines the most, because I don't really care for a lot of those things when I'm playing an ARPG. I just want to fight hordes of monsters and feel good about doing it. And Lost Ark does a really good job at managing loot. Now, I've played a lot of different ARPGs. Like I said, I enjoy them from time to time. So I've seen a lot of different loot styles. There's ones that just bog you down with so much junk that you don't know what to do with it all, and almost all of it's just vendor trash. There's other ones that are super stingy with loot and you're super happy to get it. This one does a really good balance between the two. You get just enough that you feel good about what you're getting, and it's just enough that if you don't manage it properly, it will fill up your inventory, but it's not too much that it makes you feel like, oh God, I'm just gonna ignore this loot on the ground. You want to pick up the loot that you find. And in most cases, you don't have a choice because your pet is just going to pick it up for you, which is another one of those quality of life things. And you're like, really, pet? Why couldn't they just make it auto pick up loot? Well, in the original version, the non-North American versions, the pets are used as a money grab and you need to pay to have your pet pick up stuff. Otherwise you are clicking. But in the North American version, that has become a quality of life thing. So the pets just auto pick up loot for you, which is really nice. You don't have to pay for it. They don't charge you for it. There are other features that your pet can get that they do charge you for, but picking up loot is not one of them. And I think it's safe to say about 85% of the time that I was playing, I was pretty happy with what was happening and really enjoying the game. There was a little bit there where I wasn't, and I'm not gonna lie, those were the normal MMO tropes that we see. Run across the road, talk to this guy, go pick this up, move it 2 feet to the left. Just those little meaningless tasks, those things, those annoy me. And I don't care for them. And when they were happening, I was annoyed when they were happening. But they don't happen so much that it made me ever want to stop playing. Lost Ark has a really good way of just sprinkling the combat in between all of those little meaningless tasks just enough for me that I never really got bored. Okay, so let's talk about the negative stuff now, because that's how I do things around here. There's a bunch of negative stuff. It's not all praise for this game. So let's start off with the fact that classes are gender locked. I don't know if all of them are gonna be that way, but a majority of them are. Once again, this was my experience with the closed beta. On release, it may be a different situation where they have one of each, male or female, for every class, but in the closed beta, they did not. And that is somewhat annoying. And I don't think that that is very good game design. And while we're on the topic of classes, the skill trees and character customization kind of felt limited. So essentially you have your skills and then you can level each of those skills up as you see fit, and then you can modify them ever so slightly. But I never saw anything that really changed the skill. There was some with the mage where you could give the skill like fire or ice to it instead of just being a normal damage skill, stuff like that, but nothing that really like now this splits into 4 or does this new thing or something like that. It was just, it does some increased damage, it has higher crit, it changes to fire, ice, one of the elements, it can stun, it can have slightly shorter range but do more damage. And to me, that makes it feel rather generic and limited. I would really like to see much more emphasis on giving you the ability to feel different than someone else who is playing a gunslinger, for example. Like, I want to be able to play as a gunslinger with my friend who is playing as a gunslinger, and we feel different. And Lost Ark doesn't really have that. Now, there could be a situation where your friend is running a different set of skills than you are, which is completely possible, but there's definitely going to be some overlap there. And while this isn't necessarily a deal breaker, it's just something that I wish the game did a little bit differently. There are other ways to customize your character a little bit more. For example, there's cards and you collect the cards and then they can change things on your character a little bit, but I didn't see anything in the game with my time that I had in it. It was a rather short time. I'm going to remind you of that there, but I didn't see anything that really allowed me to set my character apart from other gunslingers. Another thing that really annoyed me was the fact that there are a lot of things you can't do with your friends. Like, it's a multiplayer game in which they give you the ability to create a party and run around with your friends. However, there are a lot of stuff that you just can't do. A lot of dungeons, it just kicks you into a solo instance. Your friends can't come with you. You got to solo it up. And that to me is super annoying and it's just really bad game design, especially for a multiplayer game. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care what the story is. There shouldn't be a single part of the game that I can't experience with my friends. It's a multiplayer game that allows you to have parties. If that party system is in there and it's a multiplayer game, then you should be able to do it with multiple players. It just makes sense, and it's dumb that you can't. Now, I did read that this changes as you get further towards the end game and it becomes less of an issue, but it should not be an issue at all. Next up, let's talk about the systems. There are a lot of systems, everything from the card system to the collecting the seeds to just so many systems that it just gives you system overload. There's gathering for crafting. There's a whole adventurer's tome where it's like you just got to do everything in an area, collect all the things, see all the things, visit all the monsters and kill them. Just so many little intricate systems that for someone who is just jumping into the game, I could see it being extremely overwhelming, especially for people who are not hardcore gamers. I'm a hardcore gamer. Gaming's my life. It's my job. And it was overloading for me. I could not imagine what it would be like for just a casual player. There's also a lot of stuff that's just level locked. You can't even get to it until you get to a specific level, and I find that somewhat annoying as well. For example, the auction house. Can't touch the auction house till you get to a late level in the game. You can't visit your island till you get to a specific part in the game, aka player housing. There's just a ton of little things that are throughout the game, a lot of these systems that are level locked. And I get that they probably do it to limit your exposure to so many different things at one time right from the start. But when you unlock your house and everything else like that, and you can walk up to the dude that is the auction house, but he tells you you can't do anything with the auction house until your level, whatever it is, I don't even remember. It's just annoying. Like, okay, well, I'm here, you're here, why can't I do the thing? And my last but not least little nitpick here on things that annoyed me was the spamming of G. Oh my God, you spam G so much. To advance any dialogue in the game, you have to spam G. And there is a lot of dialogue in the game. You have to talk to a lot of people. Every time you talk to somebody, you're spamming G. To interact with anything, you're spamming G. You will wear out your G key if you play this game for a very long time. Not even a very long time. If you played it for 2 months straight, and it's the only game you're playing, you'd probably wear out your G key. They really need an option to either allow you to just hold down the G key to spam through the dialogue really quick, or better yet, just a button that you click that just says skip dialogue. Because while I know there are a lot of people out there who care about the dialogue and want to get invested in the story, I also know that there are a lot of people who just don't give a crap, and I'm one of those people. And even if you do care, you still have to sit there and spam the G key in order to get through the dialogue anyway. Now, when this game releases, it will be free to play. But of course, there's going to be microtransactions because it's free to play. But from what I've seen inside the closed beta, you should not have any problems enjoying the game in its entirety without spending a dime in microtransactions. I would highly recommend getting the Aura system that they have, which is like their premium account upgrade thing. So instead of paying the $14 a month like WoW or whatever charges you, whenever you want to pay money, you pay money and you get the Aura system. And from my understanding, you may not even actually have to pay money. You could possibly grind up the crystals that you need in order to get that, or I should say grind out, earn in-game the crystals that you need in order to pay for that Aura in-game without ever spending a dime. But even if that's not the case and you don't want to do that, the Aura system, for the little bit of perks that you get for it, would be worth it if you want to help support the game if you're enjoying it. And that system just allows for some handy things, like it gives you additional benefits to your pets, and it allows you to use the triporters without being charged a fee in silver. But that fee is nominal to begin with, and you earn a ton of silver in the game. So once again, it's not a deal breaker. It's just a nice quality of life feature that if you can afford and you're enjoying the game, I would suggest you give it a shot, because I think it's going to push it over the edge just a little bit more for you. But trust me, you don't necessarily need it to have fun in this game. Overall, I think it's a solid gameplay experience. I highly suggest that you give it a try when it releases. I mean, it's free to play, so what do you have to lose? Some time that you take to download it. If you don't like it, uninstall it. You really don't have much to lose. And like I said, I really think a lot of people out there, well, one, if you enjoy MMOs, and two, if you enjoy ARPGs, you're going to really enjoy this game. All right, so did you play in the closed beta? Have you played it at all? Have you played any of the other versions? Let me know what you think down there about them in the comments section. Do you plan to play it when it releases? Let me know what you think down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video and you like what you saw here and you found it helpful, consider hitting the subscribe button and a notification bell so you can be notified when I put out other videos. All right, that is going to wrap it up for this episode. I want to give an absolutely massive shout out and thank you to my supporters on Patreon for making this episode possible. Y'all are absolutely amazing people. If you would like to join my Elite Crew Patreon supporters, please check out the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. If you're shy, you don't like to comment, just hit that thumbs up button and show your support. Until next time, thanks for watching.